It is 6 o'clock.
I got Claritin, Zyrtec,
Good.
Benadryl, and I've got stomach meds. I've got and Advil, so I'm set.
You said.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay, it is 6 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. To start the meeting, if you don't mind, if you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you lead us in the invocation?
Thank you, man. Heavenly Father, Lord, once again, Lord, we come before you, and first of all, before we do anything, we say we thank you for what you already done. We thank you, Lord, for this day that we have witnessed that we've never seen before. And now, Heavenly Father, we ask you that as we go forward with the business of this city, that whatever we do, first of all, be pleasing in our sight. We just thank you, Lord, for the opportunity you've given us, one of us to serve in whatever capacity it might be. We thank you, Lord, for just being who you are. Continue, Lord, to bless our souls wherever it might be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I want to let the citizens know that we have a full board here tonight. Alderwoman Lynch and Alderman Robinson are attending remotely. They're both traveling. Alderwoman Lynch may show up in person shortly. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion to approve the docket of claim numbers listed on your agenda?
So,
Go ahead. Rick, you.
I yield.
I yield to you. Go ahead.
So move.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 6 is to approve the minutes from the regular mayor and board meeting on March 21st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 8 is the approval to pay Cerberus for payout number 9 in the amount of $50,124.28 for the animal shelter building construction. The pay request just wasn't turned in time, and it has been approved by AERC for payment on our behalf.
Mayor, I just have one. I know I get asked all the time. Do we have a timeline that thing's going to be open? Or
We think about 6 weeks.
waiting on some cabinets or something, right?
Yeah, we're waiting on some cages and some doors, but it's getting really close.
I'll make a motion to approve the invoice to Cerberus for $50,124.28.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next is item 9, which is the request to increase the transport paramedic pay scale. We have been having really bad trouble retaining our paramedics due to them leaving for more pay. So Chief, would you like to come up and explain it a little deeper?
Okay, let's see. What I'm trying to do right now is up their pay. And what I'm trying to do is be able to actually get applications in. We had 3 slots approved for paramedics this year. We have not got an application in yet. The problem we're having is we're hiring people and they're staying here just long enough till another department opens up and then they go to that department. So to give you an idea, I need 6 medics every single day just to keep my ambulances running. And I've got 6 hired. One of them is on military leave till March of next year. Now, we can't fill their spot, but I'm not paying that spot either. But between the 5 that's left, I've got one medic that's been here 4 years and 7 months. My next medic's been here 1 year and 5 months. Then I've got one that's been here for 10 months, one that's been here for 5 months, and one that we hired last week. Last week, we lost 2 medics. Since 2022, in the year 2022, we lost 6 medics. Out of those 6 medics, the longest lived medic we had was 5 years. So basically what's happening is we're hiring them 3, 4, 7, 8, 10 months later, another department hires and they go. And then a couple of them try to stick it out and see what happens, but once they hit 5 years, they go. So my longest medic I got has been here 4 years and 7 months. So if everything goes like it has in the past, she's not gonna be far from leaving. And all the other ones are not gonna be far from leaving either. All branches hiring 18 people right now. That's where one of mine already went. So the only way we can do it is compete with them. And right now, we're not competing with them.
How far different are we from the other cities?
Right now, we pay, let's see, I don't want to, right now, we pay $19.14 an hour. And the other cities are paying anywhere from $19.90 an hour, that's Horn Lake, but they've got longevity added to their pay. South Haven pays from $21.22 up to $22. Olive Branch pays $22.10, and we pay $19.14. So the closest person I guess the highest paid person is about 66, almost 67,000, and we pay 59,000.
So why are they leaving at 5 years? Is that like
I don't know.
a level of pay increase?
I know we do a level of pay increase in 5 years, but we just started that last year. So that was to kind of retain those people that have been here a while, because we don't have a longevity or anything, you know. So if somebody been here before y'all did that, you know, y'all did that this past October. Before y'all did that, if we had somebody working for us for 10 years and we hired somebody, they made the exact same dollar amount. So we made those 3-tier steps, basically like the police department did, pay them for their experience. So once they hit 5 years now, they'll move up to another level. And then when they hit 10 years, they'll move up to another level, and then that's where it's capped off.
In general, like, I know it's hard to go position by position, but in general, the people you're hiring, are they like fresh out of school, more or less, or are they coming with any kind of experience at all?
Well, that's based off of, so the base pay that we're trying to go with is $70,000. That's straight out of school. If they've got 5 years of experience somewhere else,
Yeah.
it's another grade. I mean, it's another dollar amount. And if they got 10 years of experience or higher, then they go to a paramedic 3. And that's us trying to grab people that are experienced, you know, not just having a whole bunch of people straight out of school.
Right. I mean, so the ones that you've been hiring, the ones that make up the ones currently that you have that you've hired, you know, a week ago or 7 months ago, are those people mostly just out of school, or are they?
No, mostly they're fairly experienced medics that have been changing positions, you know, changing jobs, just pretty much kind of moving wherever they can find money.
And the reason I ask that is because if we do approve this, are we going to be able to attract people that have experience, or are we going to be?
Well, this pay scale is designed to attract new people straight out of school.
Yeah.
And people that have 5 or 10 years of experience.
Okay.
Because right now, we don't get anybody straight out of school. All the other cities hire them while they're in paramedic school, pay for their paramedic school, and so they're already working for them before they become a paramedic. They sign a 2-year contract, and they're stuck with them for 2 years at least.
Marshall, so we hired 3 positions we gave you 3 additional medics last year, correct?
Yes.
And I have a note on my sheet here that says 2 of the 3 medics will be reduced to half a year. I guess we waited to the middle of the year to hire them.
This is the half of the year.
Yeah, and you still hadn't hired them, right?
I
Okay.
never got to hire the first one.
And so it looks like they went from 15-something to now 19-something last year. We gave them a pretty good raise last year.
That was in 21.
Okay, from 21 to 22, we gave them about a $4 raise.
Yeah, so I actually got that broke down. So in fiscal year 22 budget, they were making $47,000, and we brought them up to $57,000. Last year, we did the normal 4% across the board, but we did a step scale, you know, trying to grab some people that had some experience. So that brought them from either 57,000 up to 59,000, depending on their level of experience. So that's us trying to grab a 10-year medic at 59,000, and that's where we're at right now. And what I'm asking for is to take that 59 up to 70. That would make us the highest paid in the county, and I could actually get some attention. Because right now, if I get an application, I'm hiring them.
Right.
No matter what their past is, no matter where they've worked, because I have to have them. You know, our paramedic position is the only position, I believe, anywhere in the entire city that when they leave, nobody's standing in line to get the job. If I left, there's 100 people behind me that take my job. If the mayor left, there's 100 people take his job. When paramedics leave, there's nobody sitting there. Nobody's waiting for that job.
Well, your budget this year for fiscal year 22, 23 will be able to absorb this.
Well, I can tell you right now, our revenue this time last year and what we have now, we've already made 64,000 more by this time this year than we did last year. We're right at 8% over budget right now, which is $51,344 more than we should have made right now, or as of March 2028.
When you say over budget, you mean more revenue than you.
More revenue, right, our revenue is up 51,000. We're projected to be up at the end of the year by 97,000, you know, if we keep trending like we're trending.
Now increasing this, getting new budget year for full new budget, being able to absorb that too.
Well, around $46,900 is pretty much half year. And keep in mind, I got one medic spot I cannot fill. So that salary is just sitting there. Everybody this money right now today. Next year, it will increase our salary by $112,000. You know, because it's 9 people now, you know. But of course, that 46,000 is for 9 people too. That's if I can.
You have an advocate because at the end of the day, we all deal with numbers. The bottom line is revenue, incoming revenue. South Haven in FY22 budget was $102 million. The budget. FY23, their budget was $99 million. Olive Branch, FY22 budget was $134 million. Do you know what this budget is for the city of Hernando, FY22?
I figure around 24, 25,000.
35 million. So, but yet and still, we want to be the top paid, but we're not the top in revenue. We had to cut things this year because we did not have adequate revenue. And I know I'm touching on a subject in department that people don't like to hear about, but sometimes we have to stop. FY22, which you already agreed, we gave the department a 20% increase. FY23, we gave them a 4% increase. 6 months into the FY22 budget, you are coming here asking now for 18% increase. So if my math is correct, in 2.5 years, that position will have got 42% increase. You hear what I'm saying? 42% increase. And they're not even looking at, and I asked you this question, I asked the question straight out. If we was to do this tonight, would you still ask for an increase 6 months from now? And your answer was yes. So what we talking about now, in less than 3 physical years, 2.5 physical years, 42% increase. Nobody get an increase like that in 2.5 years in the budget term. Now, sometimes we have to think outside the box. And my question to you and your staff, did we look at contracting, not the paramedic, but part of that service out and see what those numbers look like? Did we look at that?
I know we've looked at it.
No. Did we look at that? We talking about 4 or 5 years ago. Did we look at it as we relate, as we're talking about how short we are? We as manager got to look beyond and outside of our box and look at whatever it takes to get this job done. And just I'm gonna come before this board and asking now for an 18% increase in 6 months is not thinking outside the box. I think you need to go back, this Miller speaking, I ain't speaking about, that we need to go back and revisit and look at everything. We can subcontract some services, not get rid of the paramedic, but paramedics still work. But subcontract some of those services that will save us in benefits and everything else. But right now, we are $1 million lower in budget than our other companion cities, but yet and still we want to be the top paid. It cannot work. Without, your pie is only so big. And when we get through cutting that pie up, and I know everybody concerned about their own little piece of pie, but as an alderman sitting on this board, I got to look at the whole pie in the whole city. So we just cannot, at least I cannot, I keep on saying I cannot justify approving or even vote or entertaining an 18% raise 6 months into the budget without us going and looking at every avenue out there and coming back and reporting to this board. This is what I have found. But when I look at these numbers from the other cities, the numbers don't lie. You want to be the highest paid? We got to increase the revenue base. We cannot be the highest paid when our revenue base, looking at the 4 major cities, our revenue is the smallest. But yet and still, we want to be the highest paid. It just don't work. And I'm finished.
Well, I can tell you, we did look at a private service years ago. And the thing is they don't come to one city. When they come, they want the whole county or nothing.
Well, there again, we were talking about 4 years ago. I'm asking for, this is 2023. We can't think about what had already passed, what we did back then. Everything done changed.
Well,
to me, all due diligence. And that's my point. As a manager, we're supposed to get outside the box, even though we talked about 4 years ago. And really, we didn't even get a good proposal because when the people came here, I was sitting here, and the chief at that time would not even let them present their proposal. I'm talking about 2023 in April, looking outside the box.
Well,
Because that's a 42%. Man, if a manager anywhere in any business gave people a 42% raise in 2.5 years, they'd be looking for a job themselves.
well, I can tell you in the medical field, that's what's happening right now since COVID. Every medical
I'm just saying,
person
I'm looking at the
in
numbers.
field has moved up.
I'm looking at the numbers. If this board can tell me that we can absorb all this and still take care of the rest of our system, the rest of our departments and their thing, we have a problem right now with infrastructure and everything else trying to get it done.
Well, I can tell you, I've already made enough money this year above budget to handle this.
You say you made enough money. That's city money.
Well, but it's still revenue. You said you got to raise revenue, and I've raised my revenue by 51,000.
Did all your money in your budget come from the money that your department raised, since you want to put it like that?
No.
It came out of the general fund. So when you get to the point of saying that I'm neutral, that I'm raising all the money that was in the general fund, then talk to me about the money that you raised.
Alderman Miller, everything you've just said is very accurate, very true, and it's the challenge that we face every day trying to provide the services that we provide. After we talked, I happened to talk to the chief in Horn Lake, and you just referenced it earlier in your comments. This is not unique to Hernando. This is a problem that Horn Lake has. You just referenced Olive Branch. We have it. And we pay the bottom scale right now, so we're all trying to hire good medics. Now, where's the best medics going to go to work? They're going to go where they get the best benefits. But we're all interviewing and trying to find, as a city, the exact same medic. So it's a catch-22. We've either got to do something to attract these guys and these gals to come to Hernando and make this their home, or we got to just sit where we are and hope we can hire the worst that didn't get hired by the other cities. We've got a level of service that we've got to provide. Safety is at the top of everybody's list. It's at the top of my list. We've got to have a full staff, and we've got to have a qualified staff. And the only way we're going to do that is through a benefit package, in my opinion.
And I agree with you, Alderman Harris, but at the end of the day, where do the money come from? See, I agree with everything you're saying.
I agree with everything you said.
But the thing about it, though, the budget is the budget. So we're gonna cut the other departments. We're gonna have to cut somewhere because our revenue is not gonna increase like that. So you got to cut somewhere, and I know that's a hard thing to do. If you're gonna raise him, you're gonna have to cut somewhere. It can't stay neutral.
Well, the other concern, and I voiced this
Yeah.
in our conversation, once you start this, where does it end?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Next department, what we gonna do then?
And that's the problem we face in trying to make a decision like this. We don't really have the revenue to do it, but we don't have the people on staff to take care of our citizens, and the only way we're going to get to that point is to pay them. So you made a point that you've already generated enough new revenue, right?
Right.
This year to take care of this year. And we talked about this. Well, what about next year?
Well, I can tell you, in 2020, we brought in $500,000 revenue. 2021, we brought in $606,000. Or 21, we brought in $606,000. That's $106,000 gain. 2022, we brought in $721,000. That's $125,000 gain. We're on track to be around $890 this year, which is another $150,000 gain. But just between 2020 to 2022, it's been a 39% increase in our revenue. So,
Yeah, I mean,
although it costs more, they're running so much, you know.
And
one of the sources-
I want to make sure we're all talking about the same numbers. So, Julie, I'm looking at you. You had provided numbers to the chief that at a full year, which would be our next budget year, this would cost us about $112,000 to give this increase, including benefits. Okay, so that's $112,000 extra we'd be looking at next year. Obviously, our property values are going to go up by that much. Our taxes will that's an easy number to overcome. This year, and this is one-time money probably, but this year we've had some extra revenues come in that can easily cover the $46,000 that it'll cost us this year. So I don't see that the $112,000 next year is going to kill us. I don't think we're going to have to make hard decisions based on that $112,000.
And the way things are going, I'll be budgeting more than $112,000 revenue next year than we did this year.
Revenue increase. Okay.
Right.
One of them,
Go
sorry,
ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chad.
Why do we not look at this in October? Why are we waiting now?
Because at the time, I knew we had just done a great raise the year before. And I knew that was the year that we needed to just relax, basically, and do the 4% raise. But we did add the step thing, so we were hoping that was going to maybe generate what we needed to generate, and it didn't generate it.
Future, this is just my opinion. If you think you need a raise, put it in there. I mean, that's the way I look at it, instead of catching us in the middle of the year. I mean, I know it seems like you can pay for this, but I think one thing we need to point out, this is a recurring expense, and, you know, we still have the issue with PERS coming next year. We don't know what, I mean, that was gonna be a big hit for us next year. I think they put it off a year. So once we put these in there, you're not gonna ask to take them out next year, are you?
No,
I think you're gonna ask for 5 more people, right? That what I think is what we said, maybe?
at least 3.
Yeah, so, I think there's talks maybe of a new fire station in the next 2 or 3 years, is that right?
probably
How many
have to
people you
have
gonna need
one
for a
of
fire station?
The what?
How many people would you have to add for a fire station? We had a fire station, 12 people, something like that?
A minimum of 12, that's if we don't put an ambulance in it.
I think short-term decisions have long-term consequences. We need to remember that.
The other thing I would think about is that one of the main revenue drivers that you have within your departments for ambulance fees and services, correct?
Right.
So if you don't have people to run the ambulances, then you lose a stream of revenue in theory, right?
Right.
So this is something that sort of feeds itself over time. I mean, if we're not able to fill those positions, we're not able to staff the ambulances, which isn't going to drive the additional revenue that is going to be budgeted. So it's kind of a, you know, I mean, we're in a catch-22, chicken and egg sort of deal. But, you know, additionally, you have to think about having 3 ambulances compared to 2 is a massive difference for this city. I know when in 2017 we had 1 ambulance, and you had people that were waiting 18 to 23 minutes sometimes to get a call for service. So the city's grown since then. I mean, it seems like if people are leaving and their main concern, and I don't know if it's exit interviews or how y'all document those kind of things or whatever else, but I know it's hard to document all that stuff, but knowing that that's the main reason, then it has to be addressed at some point.
And Marshall, as far as the supervisor, I guess she's gonna make less than what the paramedics are gonna make, is that right? I mean, I guess that's.
These will basically make them higher than anybody other than myself and Chief Witt. But in all actuality, the way the medical field is growing, and if you're gonna keep providing medical services, I told the mayor, there's not gonna be many years, it'd be 10 years, they'll be making more money than he is. They're a specialty field.
Sure.
There's 9,800 paramedics that are supposed to be in the state of Mississippi, and there's 2,700. And that's where the problem is.
Mayor, and you made the statement that $100 and some thousand in the next budget year wouldn't be a problem. But when you take $100 and some thousand in this department, then you look at your other department, that's a problem. For this department, it might not be a problem, but we got other departments. And don't think that they ain't watching now, seeing what happened now with this request and this additional money. So I'm looking at the whole pie. So yeah, just a narrow piece of pie, that one slice. But when we look at it all total, I think we're going to be biting bullets in the next budget year. And what Alderman Wicker just said, we got a grace period this year about what didn't happen, but we already know what's coming, and we got the budget for it. We got other projects and things that we already now trying to figure out how we're going to pay for them, and all those come out to what? General fund. And that's what we talking about, general fund money at the end of the day.
It is all general fund money, I agree.
And so
I agree with your numbers and your.
And so all I'm saying is that I have no problem with what he's saying, but as being a steward of the citizen money, I cannot justify an 18% raise 6 months into a budget.
And when you put it that way, it sounds one way, but when you put it into reality,
No.
the reality is we're not going to have people
Let me ask him a question. Is it or not an 18% raise?
It is.
All right, then, that's it.
But it just so happens that since COVID has been here, the people in that field, their rates have gone through the roof. For good or bad, it is what it is, and we cannot staff the ambulances. And if we can't staff them, what do you expect us to do? We can't park them. And we're going to keep working these 5 people till
I
they
just
fall
offered
over.
an alternative that no one's seen that won't even investigate, other than you want to approve tonight, to even go out and investigate an alternative method. In other words, we need to turn over every stone before we approve an 18% raise, and we have not did that. That's all I'm saying, Mayor. We need to do due diligence and go outside the box and look at everything. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying.
Chief, about a year and a half ago, roughly, you identified to the board some areas in your department where other cities were charging for some things that we weren't charging for, and we corrected that.
Yes.
How much revenue did that generate for you?
As far as the ambulance, I don't know exactly, but obviously we've been gaining 100,000 in revenue every year, but we also did one on the fire inspector side that we had never charged for, and I think this year that revenue already is over 120,000 that we didn't have last year.
Are there any other areas like that where we don't charge and the other cities charge where we could pick up additional revenue if we changed that?
We're actually investigating some of that right now, but I'm not clear enough on it to understand it to talk about it.
So it's possible.
Oh, it's a possibility, yes. And it's not just the medic side, it's in general, all of my departments together. You know, we're looking at different avenues of what we can do that will help us generate revenue without, you know, of course, charging everybody everything we can.
I just want us to have a body that we can put in an ambulance when we get the call. Because if we don't have that, what's the liability to the city?
It's probably nothing other than Facebook. I mean, honestly,
And the possibility of lives being lost.
you know,
Exactly. That's my point.
you know.
I mean, we've got that need for our community as a service. We've got to provide it. We all want to provide it. But if we can't provide it, and that call comes in and we lose somebody because we didn't show up, are we liable? Mr. Attorney, are we liable?
Subjected.
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
I personally experienced that with my family. I personally experienced us having one ambulance and could have lost my son. Can't put a price on protecting the lives of our citizens. I know I'm a numbers person. I look at the budget. I look at, can we afford this? I know how things have gone up. I know how prices for services, salaries have increased. I know we've got to stay competitive, but it's a double-edged sword. We can't lose somebody because I almost did. Because we're not truly focusing hard on everything we can do to get the best people we can get and pay them what we have to pay them and not lose them because we're a training ground for these folks. We're spending money on their training. We're sending them to get certified, and we're losing them to other cities. We cannot continue down that path. I'm just saying you can't put a dollar price on a life.
You know, Chief, when we talk, Beth, great points. When we talked, you know I wasn't in favor of this when you first called me. You had to sell me real hard. What really sold me is when I talked to another fire chief in another city. And I realized, as I said earlier, this is not a Hernando problem alone. It's a county problem that all of our cities are having. And I want us to hire the very best we can possibly hire, as you do. That was part of your sales pitch to me. Otherwise, we're going to still sit here and hire the best of the worst. We're not going to keep them because they won't be committed to us and dedicated to us. They'll be here for a short period of time and then they'll be gone. And hopefully, and we talked about this, hopefully if we hire the best of the best, we'll have a long-term employee. That's what swung me over to being in favor of this.
other questions or concerns? Alderman Robinson, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm ready to make a motion.
Well, if there are no more comments, we'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to request to increase the transport paramedic pay scale as, on item number 9 on the agenda.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Aye.
Alderman Miller,
Nay.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross.
And the motion passes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the personnel docket. Is there a motion on the personnel docket?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion on the donations docket?
Motion to accept.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is the authority for me to sign the contract with Wagner Engineering for the preliminary engineering services for the Nesbitt Road Sidewalk Project.
Can we kind of give a description where that sidewalk's going so everybody knows?
Austin, would you present that briefly so everybody knows? The board already knows, but also reaffirm it for them and let the public know what we're doing.
Sure. This has been an ongoing project for several years. It was originally approved for small selection in 2018 to select Wagner to design it. We brought it back to you on the 21st of this year because they were re-engaged with the new MPO funds. And so this is currently just asking the mayor to sign that contract that we approved. But the sidewalk's going in and around the Nesbitt Square. Some places there's no sidewalk at all. Some places it's too narrow, and it'll also include site lighting through Entergy's light poles.
I'll make a motion to give you authorization to sign the contract with Wagner Engineering.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. All right, item 13, if you would present that one to us, Austin.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1673. And then this is first of two tonight, appeal the decisions of the Planning Commission who denied this request for a variance for Wade Incorporated at 1985 Commerce Street. The variance is for the allowable fencing material as regulated by the Design Standard Ordinance. The property zone C4 planned commercial is what's kicked it into this design requirement. And the fence was built without a permit and is currently constructed as a chain link fence with barbed wire. And in your staff report, in the discussion topics, the applicant stated generally that it was a security issue, that they've had quite a bit of loss, and that the fence was to help prevent some of that. And like I said, this was denied at the Planning Commission meeting, and they've appealed within their 10 days, and it's in before you tonight. The three items for discussion, we'll read for the record, but that the special conditions and circumstances that exist are peculiar to land structures or building involved, and not generally applicable to other lands, structures or buildings in the same district. The little enforcement of these provisions of these standards would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district. That special conditions and circumstances don't result from the actions of the applicant, and that granting this would not confer any special privilege otherwise denied by the ordinance to other land structures or buildings. We did include pictures of the fence as constructed in your staff report. In the meantime, at the request of them at the last meeting, they requested a table to work out some details of a revised proposal, which I emailed to you, and it's in front of you here. And to go over the proposal generally, they want to delete or dig up the fence on the entire property frontage back to the building front setback. And so the front of the fence would be the wood split rail that you see along the road. They're proposing to add a vinyl-coated black fence going from the existing chain link to the building, and then to add a landscape buffer on the outside of the chain link on the rear portions of the property, which would be against the future Weatherby West subdivision. There is a narrative in your staff report that shows exactly what they will be planting and where, and a description of the fence, and they did a 3D markup of what the fence would look like from a bunch of different angles. And so the wood fence in the frontage of the property, and then the landscaping to hide the existing chain link fence, and then the new black coated vinyl going from the existing chain link to the building. And this is from the applicant, and they're here tonight if you have any questions, and I'm available if you have any questions as well.
Any questions or concerns from the board?
I just want to reiterate that what the planning commission denied was what's existing, and what this is a new plan. So what we're looking at is not the exact same thing that the planning commission, just like happens in other instances. This is not a straight vote on against what they had done. There's been major changes that the company has brought to us and worked with us on, so.
Absolutely.
Austin, if this property is sold at any time, does this variance stay into effect forever, or is it just with its current?
It would run with the land.
Are there any citizens here that want to speak on this item?
A good compromise.
John Stevenson, 1589 Johnston Road, Hernando. When I first saw the fence that was put up, I think I called the mayor and said, you need to make them rip that down and put up something else. But I've looked at the proposed changes that they've made, and I think it's a very good plan. I don't think it solves all the potential issues for residents nearby. And frankly, the more I've thought about it, I don't own a John Deere dealership where everybody's trying to steal all my tractors. And they do have a very special circumstance with that. So it seems to me they're willing to work out. I would encourage the board to approve this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay, if there are no other comments or concerns from the board, is there a motion?
Here, I make a motion to approve a variance request by David Floyd of Wade, Inc. for allowing fencing material as regulated by the Design Standards Ordinance. The subject property is located on the south side of Commerce Street, west of Scott Road at 1985 Commerce Street in Section 14, Township 3, Range 8. And items A, B, C, and D are included in the motion.
Second.
The motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. All right, Austin, item 14.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1673. It is also an appeal of the decision of the Planning Commission. They denied a variance request for the maximum building height at 1985. Excuse me.
I'm going to correct you. This is PL 17.
It is. I was on the wrong one. Excuse me. Request of the appeal of the decision of the Planning Commission for the denial of a zoning height variance. The request in the revised staff reports for a five-story hotel with a maximum height of 65 feet, which would be 30 foot taller than the maximum allowed 35 feet. It's on Creekside Boulevard on an unplatted lot on the north side west of Mason Drive, Section 17, Township 3, Range 7. Mr. Sam Patel is requesting the height variance for his proposed hotel. The property zone C2, which is where the 35-foot height requirement came from. And the hotel is a proposed town place suites on an unplatted 2.5 roughly acre parcel on the north side of Creekside. The discussion criteria for a zoning approval or denial are the same as the last application, so I won't read those again. And proposed site plan and building elevations are attached to the staff report. This was denied at the Planning Commission meeting, and they were appealed in the allowable 10 days and re-advertised for tonight's hearing. And we did add proposed motions to approve or deny in your staff report if you so see fit. And there was some confusion on the which lot this is actually encompassing. And so if you look at the site map on the second to last page of your staff report, there are two lots on that current Creekside Boulevard lot. It's just not currently showing up because the tax roll hasn't rolled over for this year. But where you see 1100 is the approved Holiday Inn Express. The faint green line is the preliminary tax roll line, and this lot is just directly to the right of that. The creek does have a non-disturb buffer along that tree line, which would be required to be preserved, but it is two lots. I wanted to clarify that. The applicant's available tonight, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Austin, what was proposed at the planning meeting was a 5-story, and this is, I believe, now a 4-story. Is that correct?
I believe that's what they're going to propose, yes, sir.
That's kind of what we've done with some other buildings, right?
Yes, sir. I have a note here. The other two buildings in the vicinity was a home, 2 suites, was approved as a 4-story, 52.5 feet tall, and the Holiday Inn approved for 4 stories, 50-foot top of parapet.
What is our court, was it 3 feet now what's the height on the 3 feet?
35 feet is the maximum allowable.
I think we should maybe look at raising that.
I've talked with the mayor about that. Probably so, just because of our applications we have coming in. What I'd probably propose is not a blanket height, but really maybe compare it to surrounding land uses and surrounding buildings so it doesn't look totally out of scale.
Do you know why it was set at 35 feet?
I don't.
Tell them your idea.
Huh?
Tell them your idea about the courthouse.
I thought that might be like the height of the courthouse, and they didn't want a building taller than the courthouse or something like that. Like it might be
Sounds
something
about
really
right.
old.
I don't know if that's true.
I was just curious about that because I thought it was just it's just like a random number to choose. It's not. I mean, it's the height of a 3-story building, give or take. But
I do know Alderman Piper that when they got ready to build the administration building, there was a lot of debate about the height of that because at the time, we did not have fire equipment that could reach that. And so that was one of the main things, that would change during that time. There was a concern, but, that was changed,
But now we have building
Yeah.
codes and fire codes that would suffice in any height building.
right. That was one of the things at the time.
So, I'm sorry, Austin, will you clarify, what are we talking about, a 4-story or 5-story building?
The request that was turned into the planning commission was a 5-story hotel for 65 feet. In the course of discussions, I think the applicant's going to provide for a 4-story hotel, but I'm going to let him say that here in just a second. But what was presented to the planning commission was a 5-story, but the board does have the power to either approve, deny, or modify the decision. So if there's an alternate proposal, you can approve that as well.
Mr. Cates, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thanks for having me, everybody. I represent Sam Patel. We're looking at a beautiful hotel. We would love to see a 5-story, and there's a lot of reasons we'd like to have that. We did reach out, and we did contact some of the homeowners, some of the business people, because I think you need to be a good neighbor. I'm a pretty good neighbor. I live at 230 Highway 51 South, and we love everything about Hernando. We get it that you as a board and the mayor, you're constantly hearing we want to leave it sweet. You're just too awesome. Everybody's coming to Hernando. I mean, it's just happening. You're the hot city right now. You're the county. You've got everything going for you, the new schools. One of the things that I think is really important when you do build a little bit taller of a hotel is the money that it generates for the economy. I talked to Jason Shiflett today that owns the Domino's Pizza, always helps out my charities. I talked to Tina today at the Coffee Central Squared, and I said, how does this impact your business? Is it good for your business? Is it bad? I called Bill Sexton, a lifelong friend, and I said, look, on appraisal value, is this going to hurt the neighborhood? Is this going to help it? Everybody gave me nothing but positive feedback. One thing I was thinking about, I'm a big fan of something called a hotel motel tax. And what that is to anybody that doesn't know, I hear you talking about your funding and your issues, and dude, every city in North Mississippi is fighting the big budgets of the big cities. We're all going for the same applicants for fire and police and paramedics. What I would recommend is if you could get your ball tournaments like that city up there by Silo, they're making bank right now for everything they're doing. I'm not saying to build a silo, but I'm saying those ball tournaments is where you can make money. One thing they do, what they look at, because I was a coach, is you look at when travel ball, where are we going to stay at? Is it a big enough place to go and stay? Luckily for you, you have 3 hotels that are new ones, and when you have 2 or 3 other ones, and I think right now at this time, Mayor, you're generating $100,000 per year in hotel motel tax. Is that close to being right?
It's a lower number than that. It's around 60, I think.
Let's say it's 60. Okay. We're going to have, let's say that we have 100 rooms, that's $2 a night, and we're just going to pay that out. That's going to increase a lot of your hotel motel tax. The Creekside neighborhood, which we actually had a contract on Mason Drive because we like the neighborhood so much, we went into that neighborhood, but we started seeing tractor trailers backed into the driveway, and we saw campers in the driveway. And I've been president of HOAs. I'm a big fan of HOAs. I'm running one right now. I just kind of think it's going to make the neighborhood look a little bit better whenever people come into the neighborhood. If anybody's seen the picture of what we're talking about doing, we've done so many modifications before we ever came this far. We some of the neighbors were afraid that somebody could see off in their backyard. I get it. So what we did was we flipped the hotel around the opposite way. There's no rooms facing the homes. Also, I was thinking, okay, we're 65 feet tall because we're 5 stories. The top section of that looks pretty and it looks like more hotel, that's hiding all the heat and air because it looks prettier. What's that word, parapet? Parapet. Parapet? I always have trouble with that word. I knew I'd say it wrong. Okay. Anyway, we had that. So I was thinking, and I got, you ever seen the Ghostbusters car going around DeSoto County? That's a friend of mine. That's David Haley with Ghostbusters, a big charity guy. I said, can you bring your drone? Let's go measure some trees. So what we did was we had the drone. We went out, we measured the trees, are 88 feet tall, and that was 3 or 4 months ago. So our hotel is 65. There's physically no way to see this hotel from those homes. So I was trying to, and I did reach out to some neighbors last week and had some nice conversations with them. And I understand one of the biggest problems is they just don't want to see a hotel. But if it's, the zoning right now was actually done, I believe, in 2001. So when they did the neighborhood, is that close to being right?
I know it was platted originally. I don't know, we couldn't find the original zoning file.
Okay.
It's been there for a while.
So we didn't do it. We didn't go in and apply for rezoning. So we're taking a lot that wasn't even on the market. We just happened to talk to the gentleman that had it, and we went in and we made application. Mr. Sam's realtor, Terry, came in, wrote the contract, we got it. It took a long time for him to get his flag, which is what, Sam, is it a Marriott? Okay, it's a Marriott, which is a big deal for Hernando. It's a big deal. It's no doubt in my mind going to be the most beautiful hotel in North Mississippi, and you're talking about a draw to a city when you talk about travel ball and you talk about economy and boost and things like that. One thing that they asked for, which is when it's on that Creekside area, which is when hotels are there, if nobody knows, those hotels require to be able to walk. You want to walk to a restaurant, shopping, everything like that. Again, that's local economy. Somebody's going to come and stay overnight, they're going to get gas, they're going to hit the Walmart. I shop at Walgreens quite a bit. They're just going to hit the areas and keep these businesses, going strong. So there's so many reasons I think it is. I wasn't super excited when I walked out after the night that we came before the planning. I don't feel like we were heard. I asked for questions. They didn't have any. It was a 45-minute presentation that somebody made about a program. It was Valentine's night. It was like it was just a superstorm not to get approved, and we were the last ones in line. So I appreciate you guys giving us another chance. We would have probably agreed to 4 stories back then, but we came in, we had an architect draw 5. I traveled quite a bit. The industry standard, if you ever travel and you go out of town, if you look, it's almost 5 stories as industry standard right now. But that doesn't mean you have to do it because you want to preserve Hernando, and I totally understand that. Plus, it is by neighborhoods, and maybe they don't want to look at that. One of the big things I'd like to bring up is the creek, because people had asked about us and the creek. We're not going to disturb the creek. As a matter of fact, all of our sewer is going through a manhole, and it's going to go to the sewer. We're not going to affect that creek. We don't want to affect that creek, but that creek needs some serious attention all the way around because it is causing trees to fall in on neighbors, and we don't want to have that happen on our side too. So I know y'all probably have somebody looking at it. So I've been addressed with that with some homeowners that they're concerned about the creek. They're concerned about deer. There were deer all over North Mississippi, and they're still here. We get them all the time, so you're still going to get deer, and we hate that happens. But we would like to see 5 stories. I know that sounds like a big ask, but don't just deny it. If you need to do, we can definitely talk about the 4 because you're giving it for other people. I think maybe Alderman Wicker's idea of maybe going in and addressing, because I'm working with that in another city, is we're addressing a lot of things that are a little dated just to kind of keep up, and it saves you a lot of rezoning and going in. So there's a lot of talking.
I missed something there.
Sir?
Austin mentioned that when you got up there, you were going to mention 4 versus 5, but I hadn't heard nothing but 5. So is your request for 4 or is for 5? I'm not telling you what to say. I'm asking for clarity.
We would like to have the 5. We will settle for 4. Is that a better way of putting it?
I'm asking for. I'm asking what your request is for.
Our reasonable request is for 5.
I think he means that he wants 5, but I think he's going to modify it to 4.
But he hadn't modified yet. on the
Would you
record,
like-
I said, I can't modify for him.
Would you like me to modify?
Not
my
me,
request?
Yeah, Mr. Cate, I think you need to modify.
I'd like to make a modification on our original ask of 5. We'd like to modify and go and request that we get a height variance that include a 4-story on our lot.
How tall would the 4-story be?
To include the parapet that's required by design standards,
Yeah.
52?
approximately.
Yeah. What was the height that's on the other 2 hotels, on the Holiday Inn and the?
One was 50, the other was 52 and a half, just
Okay.
depending on the parapet.
Very similar, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we did match the brick. I mean, it'll still look the same. So, yeah, we can live with 4 for sure.
Would it be just, their design looks a little different, I'm looking at those things on top, should we? It might be that you need 55 feet to do that, I don't know, I'm not an architect, but I'm looking at
I'm not an
the little
architect
arches
either.
up on the parapet and everything.
Anything that we have can definitely be
Well, I mean,
adjusted for
it could be-
tonight.
I mean, if we was to accept his modification that he asked for, trying to be as delicate as possible. If we accept his modification request that is for 4-story, and then we include that the maximum height be no more than 55 feet to encompass what the mayor might have a concern about. But
I think that's very
that,
acceptable, yeah.
We're going to have our 6-story redrawn anyway.
Well, I'm just saying, but we was talking about something else that he had a concern about to make sure that it wouldn't. Any more conversation, I'd make a motion.
Is there anyone here,
Yeah.
we haven't asked
Yeah,
the
I'm
citizens
sorry.
if they want to speak, is there anyone here that wanted to speak on this topic?
I would like to.
Yes, would you come up, please? We certainly don't want to leave your comments unheard.
My name is Mark Sinsarak, and I'm the HOA president of Creekside Subdivision. We have 88 homes in our subdivision, plus we have the subdivision next to us. No one has come to me and asked me any questions. In fact, everybody who lives in that subdivision does not want any more traffic on Creekside. We can't even get out of the subdivision on a regular day, let alone during busy time because of the school. The last thing we want is another hotel on Creekside. You can't put a stoplight there because you've got one at McInvale and Commerce. So please look at us. I've been here 20 years in the subdivision, and we just keep seeing the traffic more and more. I don't see any benefit of a 5-story hotel, 4-story hotel in that location where they're at. We already have one already there where the John Deere dealership was. And is there another one in that where the ball field is?
There's 2 currently under design.
Yeah, that's going to make our subdivision getting in and out of it ridiculous. People cut over from Thousand Oaks to get through that, cut over to Walmart right there, which is pretty much a horrible street anyway, behind Arby's, right next to AT&T.
That's not a street, it's a driveway to Huntress.
I know, sorry about that, but it's horrible to even drive on. The last thing we need is another couple hotels, just making the aesthetics and us getting to and from work and school. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right.
Ma'am, would you like to come up and speak?
My name is Beth Julian, and I live at 1617 Mason Drive in Creekside. We moved here almost 4 years ago, and the thing we liked was the nice residential area that we were moving into, and now that's going to be taken away from us. There has been no one, he has said time and again that he spoke to residents. I don't know who he spoke to. He didn't speak to our president of the homeowners association. He didn't speak to anyone around where we live. So I don't know who we spoke to. We had no input on this at all. And I'm very unhappy hearing all of this. Apparently, it's approved that there is going to be a hotel there, but to make it any bigger makes it much worse for the residents there. Also, he spoke of the silo. The silo is not put up in a residential area. This is a residential area, and I think it should maintain that as a residential area. I am very disturbed to hear these plans.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else would like to speak on this topic? Anyone on the board?
Yeah, I would certainly say the traffic is a concern that I have as well, going out to that, going out to McInville. Additionally with the neighborhoods that are off of Thousand Oaks and Jaybird, there's cut-through streets there. That is definitely an ongoing issue until the county can cut commerce all the way through to Jaybird Road. That's going to continue to be an issue, and that'll alleviate that. But that is certainly a concern. On the creek that runs between Heritage Cove and Mason Drive, I know that we're in the process of working to get NRCS funds to address some of the erosion concerns and some of the trees that have been lost there. And so that is being worked on. I've talked with some of the neighbors there that have, they've seen a fence post go down or a tree that's, threatening a storage shed or whatever it may be. So we are working on that as quickly as we can and hope to get an answer on that as well. So there's definitely concerns as development comes to this area and water gets displaced.
Anyone else? Is there a motion?
But just for as concerned, though, this piece of property is already approved for an hotel, right, Austin?
Yes, sir.
It's just a matter of whether a variance be granted or not. The hotel will be built.
It could be a three-story.
It could be a three-story. It could be built based upon the current zoning. So the question before the board is not whether we will allow a 20-foot variance.
Austin, how many approved uses in the C2 usage there?
Quite a bit. It's highway commercial, so it's one of the least restrictive zonings of the commercial-based districts.
And how long has it been zoned C2?
So the neighborhood was platted in about 2001, and at that time, it was already zoned commercial. So I have a feeling it was zoned maybe.
Same time Domino's got put there, I would think, probably.
It's been zoned commercial for quite a while.
Before the houses were there?
Is there a motion from the board?
I make a motion to approve a zoning height variance request by Mr. Patel, representing the owner of the property, to allow for a 4-story hotel with a maximum height of 55 feet, which is 20 feet taller than the maximum 35 feet allowable, and also based upon A through D.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I want to clarify what I think I just heard. Your motion is for a 4-story,
Yeah.
not a 5-story, as
4-story.
this says in the motion here, right?
4-story
4-story, okay.
with 55 foot.
Is there a second to Alderman Miller's motion?
I second.
There's a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Nay.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson. Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross. Alderman Piper.
Nay.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Okay, we will move on to item 15. Can you present that one to us, Austin?
Yes, sir. This is a request from the bonding requirement for the Mount Pleasant and Riley subdivision. The request is to delay the bonding of the sidewalks until the construction of the church. The board previously approved the plat for the Mount Pleasant and Riley subdivision on December 6, 2022. And a part of that is that the sidewalk improvement to Mount Pleasant either be complete or bonded prior to platting, and that's part of our subdivision regulations. What the church is requesting is that we waive this requirement and just hold the requirement for a sidewalk until their certificate of occupancy is issued. I did receive a bond estimate for Joe Frank Lauderdale it's attached in your staff report, and So generally speaking, if we do receive a motion to approve, I would recommend that we include language about tying the approval of the sidewalk to the certificate of occupancy of the church, just to provide additional layer of protection for us.
Absolutely. Anybody have any questions on that item?
What is the bond amount?
$10,000. And that would be I'm not sure what that would actually cost, but the letter of credit would be the amount of $10,000.
Joe Frank, is that enough bond amount on that sidewalk to put it in if we had to call the letter of credit? Not that we're gonna have a letter of credit if this passes, but is that what you think the actual cost would be? Okay.
Well, my point, I mean, you know, we've been doing bonds on others, so what's so significant about this one to not put a bond up?
I can't speak to that. The church.
There's someone here to speak for the church. Yes, sir, would you like to come up?
Yeah, I want to know what's the difference?
Thanks, Alderman Miller, Scott Sarter, 1584 Hillshire North. Just administrative timing for us, I think, is the main issue, but we're just requesting it to basically help in our administrative aspects of what we're doing. So other than that, we would humbly request, but we would submit to whatever you guys decide.
And you have full intentions of erecting the sidewalk?
Absolutely.
Constructing it before you occupy the church?
Absolutely, we do.
And when is that anticipation?
We don't know yet. Couldn't give you a date.
If I go scripture, the scripture says, when you start anything, you always add up the cost and look at the time. So I noticed y'all added up the cost and look at the time. So y'all got a date out there you might not want to share, but you got a date out there, so I just leave that there.
Thank you. The cost was what we heard from Joe Frank, Mr. Lauderdale, so we're prepared to do our duty for sure as a citizen, as a community service, for sure, and do our utilitarian duties.
Any other questions for Mr. Sarter? If there are no more questions or comments, is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. Sarter.
Thank you all.
I'll make a motion to waive the bonding requirements for sidewalks and defer construction for Mount Pleasant and Riley subdivision, PL 1674.
Second.
And will you
Sorry.
add to that motion that a certificate of occupancy will not be?
Added to the motion.
Okay.
My second stand.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. All righty. Item 16. Can I have a motion to go into a closed session for determination of going into executive session regarding personnel and prospective litigation?
So made. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We are now in closed session. Thank y'all.